he asked me one or two points about, because at the second public inquiry we made a big thing about the site selection criteria, and how if we use their site selection criteria, Little Dunham ranked very low down on their list. And he tried to say that, yes, that was correct, what I'd analysed, but that was an academic argument, and they had to consider the business case, which would kind of give away that they were looking at costs, rather than the best site.
And so you were able to draw upon that?
Yes. So we were able to draw upon that kind of evidence.
Yeah. And what was? Did you gather what the kind of site? If you could just maybe just briefly explain about the site selection process, what you managed to gather from that meeting, from the barrister.
Well, the site selection process was in their environmental impact assessment, so we were aware of that, of what their established criteria were for a site. And so we could look at each of the sites, because I think they'd selected 6 possible sites along the route. So we were able to look at those 6 sites and compare each one directly against their site selection criteria. So, for example, one of the site selection criteria was proximity to local housing. And we could show that Little Dunham, we produced charts of this, that there were far more houses close to the site at the proposed Little Dunham site than there were at any of the other sites. And it wasn't, 3 or 4 more houses. It was, a significant percentage of the whole community was close to the site. So we were able to show aspects like that and present that in a way which was not presented in their environmental impact assessment. They just say these are our site selection criteria. But then they don't present an analysis of the sites.
Yes.
They just say we've chosen Little Dunham based on the site selection criteria. When we took that site selection criteria and analysed each of the sites, we were able to conclusively show that Little Dunham actually must have ranked very low down on their list.
Where do you think on the list we would have ranked?
Probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right at the bottom. Because one of the things in the site selection criteria was not cost, but it was obviously the one that they chose.
And then would you say also a willing landowner?
Cost and a willing landowner, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No need to go to compulsory purchase or anything. They had a willing landowner, was prepared, had already taken a down payment on the site, as far as I understand.
Yeah. So they were very, very willing.
Yes. Okay. And, a landowner who knew that he wasn't going to be there very much longer. He wasn't a very well man,
Yeah, no, that's what I gathered. So
it wasn't going to impact him.
No, exactly. So that's one of the reasons. So, okay, so that was one of the major arguments you brought. So it's really the noise, the landscape, visual, and the site selection process.
Yes,
they were the main arguments
yes.
you were kind of making for.
I think so. Yes. Yes. And I think we aim to make them pretty strongly.
And just kind of drawing everything together, how significant do you think your level of, obviously I know it wasn't exactly the same, but how your kind of skills, maybe your research skills, how significant were they in the relative success of the group?
I think the strongest element in the success of the group was that we were a coherent group working together. And we were able to bring different skills. I think that was the strongest thing. But what I could do was, I was able actually to focus in on what, the key points we needed to challenge. These were where our strengths are, and these are perhaps where our weaknesses are, and this is where they're weak, and we can really strongly challenge them there. And I could bring, I suppose, research analytical skills to that, and marshal the evidence and present that.
And particularly, in terms of, from what I've gathered, also using their own criteria as well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yes. So that's what we wanted to do, was to use their criteria to show that even by their criteria, this is not a successful site. This is not the site you would select if you really do use their criteria.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And they didn't argue against that at all.
No.
They didn't present any case against that evidence there, that we were able to show that Little Dunham was not the best site. It's just the site they wanted.
Yeah, and by again, it's kind of a cost. Were you able to draw upon any outside expertise outside of the group?
Well, we drew on the landscape consultant from Westacre. his name will be in the paper somewhere because we paid him a cheque. So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
really
exactly,
want financial details, but.
Any of your contacts?
No, I didn't really.
No.
I didn't. Because my contacts were really in the geochemistry, geology area. I didn't know. I would discussed it with various people. I discussed it with Tom North from Rotherham Hall, who was heavily involved in the other one. I discussed it with Mark Colville, and Mark Colville came along to one of our rallies as well.
He was one of the.
He was a barrister. He was the British barrister at the European Court of Human Rights.
Okay,
So he was able to give us strong evidence, and he actually gave us a link to somebody who was in the Conservative Party high up, who was advising somebody, but we didn't use her at all.
No.
And so we didn't really know. This is all really self-contained. I mean, I think we did a really good job, actually.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good case study of how you can do it.
Well, exactly. Thinking about how you can maybe apply it to other, and what would be some of your kind of take-home points for another group.
I think for another group is that you need to have the group doesn't need to be too big. It needs to have the support of the local community, but if you've got I would say between 5 or 8 people who can bring different skills to the group and keep it well structured and focused, I think then that's what objectors need to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have to be prepared to put in the effort to read, learn, understand, research, all sorts of information which might be immediately outside their area of expertise, but much of the information is available to them.
Well, exactly. And I guess, do you think it was the fact that maybe they wouldn't actually have maybe the skills and the kind of professional expertise? Do you think that could be also a limiting factor?
I think so. I think it is a limiting factor. I mean, if we look at Neptune's response to the planning application was, well, they've selected Little Dunham, it's of no concern to us, we don't need to support them, And they didn't. But of course, they hadn't organised themselves, and when they went to, got planning permission at the Neptune site, they had no case to object, really.
No.
They hadn't organised themselves at all, and now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because they want to build 2 more substations there. And it would be very hard to oppose those. I mean, I know they're trying to, but they don't have the same level of expertise that we were able to bring. I mean, Little Dunham was very fortunate in the community we had, from your dad, who's the farming expert, and he was able to talk about the agricultural quality of the land and all of this, and the loss of what is amongst the highest quality agricultural land in the community there, through to Ian's sort of planning experience, Simon, as a solicitor, my research experience, and Paul's, public media experience, as it were. He'd set up a radio station and things like that, so he knew about accessing public media and things, and Paul had amazing drive. He wanted to get involved in everything.
Yeah. So so would you say without the expertise of the village, it would have been inevitable that the substation?
I don't think. I think there's a. Had we not had the people in the village, I think there's a very high chance, because the local planning inspector had recommended that the planning committee accept it.
Yeah,
so I think, had we not been able to put together a very, very strong case, evidence-based case, I think, there was every opportunity we would have been landed with a substation south of the village.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds quite significant. And just the point that you mentioned about with the human rights lawyer, Mark
Colville.
Mark Colville. So what how involved was he?
Well, he wasn't really involved in the case at all. He was involved in the sense that he headed up and presented our case for the landfill, the 1999 landfill public inquiry at Newton, and that was held in the village hall at Castleacre.
Yeah.
And so I'd been part of that group, and we had regular meetings. So I was